Hello, hello, hello. It's your life coach, Ladia, coming through to you by way of divine choice. So, today we wanted to continue the conversation about building deeper connections and specifically building a deeper connection with yourself and with God. So, one of the tools I've acquired along my journey to getting to know me and build and becoming aligned with God is setting boundaries. What are boundaries? Boundaries are those things that you're okay with and the things that you're not okay with. And in order for you to be able to even set a boundary, you need to know yourself and be honest with yourself. What am I okay with and what am I not okay with? What resonates with me and does not resonate with me? Now, when we talk about boundaries, it more so sounds like, oh, I'm cutting you. It's more like a cutoff game type deal. Like I'm setting my boundary, I'm cutting this person, I'm blocking and deleting. That's one aspect of it because, truth be told, I use that a lot. If I find that there's just somebody in my life that's just not edifying, just not beneficial, they're not serving me in any capacity, and I no longer see the reason for the relationship, most of the time I, block and delete people. That's one way to set a boundary. Another way to set boundary is to, set times for yourself. Set time for yourself to be by yourself, to be able to pray and meditate. And when you set these boundaries or these times for yourself, you cut off communication with everyone else so that you can have that time for yourself to reflect and journal and also pray and meditate and align with God. So, boundaries are there. We set boundaries mainly to protect ourselves, protect our energy, and to preserve ourselves and our energy. Because as you're building a relationship with God and as you're getting to know yourself and fall in love with yourself, you start to exude this beauty. You just start to exude this energy that most people don't normally see because most people are not normally trying to, work, get to know themselves or heal themselves or build a relationship with God. It's a different kind of energy that you're carrying now because of that. And so when you have that type of energy, that people, energy vampires, will want to come around you and suck that energy out of you. Like they just mad that you're happy all the time, or you're good, or your life is good, so they want to suck that from you, or they just want to be in your face, or they just want to hear your voice, or whatever it could be. You know what I mean? But you set boundaries, because then when you start to see that somebody is just, or something, or something or someone is just taking up too much of your space and your time, it's time to set a boundary. Like create a boundary where it's like, okay, this activity that I like to indulge in or do or whatever, it kind of stops me from doing these other things. So I'm going to put that on the back burner. I'm going to put this somewhere else. I'm going to let it sit somewhere else. Or this person just be calling me all the time, or they always in my face, and something about it just don't feel right, and then you start drawing back, or you just keep your distance. These types of things that you start to become aware of because you're now aligning with yourself. You're aware of yourself. You're aware of, different energies that are coming around you. So setting a boundary is really important. Setting a boundary, as far as your home, you can't just let everybody come into your house, because people be carrying different spirits. You feel me? You don't know what somebody is carrying, some kind of negative energy, and now it's in your house. Also in your mind, you set boundaries in your mind when you start to realize that you're just becoming overwhelmed with negative thought processes, maybe from stuff that you're hearing or people that you're talking to. Cut it off. Cut it off and find something else to replace that is positive and uplifting, so that you can continue to grow in your walk. Also, you have to set boundaries as far as who you communicate with, as far as your ideas and your progress, because not everybody's happy for you. So, and again, in your journey to getting to know yourself and getting to know God, your spirit, you'll start to have the spirit of discernment, or as we say, your intuition also will let you know, like, something's not right about this person. Maybe I don't need to be sharing everything that I have going on. I don't need to like let them know all what's going on. I don't need to know everything that's going on with them, because I don't want to take on their baggage too, so there's this kind of barrier ultimately that boundaries create to help protect and preserve you as an individual, because you can only really be responsible for yourself ultimately. And then also to setting a boundary as far as your time. You become more productive when you cut out the excess phone calls, the excess people, the excess social media, and all of these things. Like, that's where you're able to now focus on you, focus on your gift that God is giving you, and really cultivate, nurture that thing so that it can become whatever God put you on this earth to do and manifest, and bring forth. So, setting boundaries is really important. Now, is it easy? Mm-mm. It's especially for those of us who are people pleasers. For me, I grew up definitely a people pleaser, definitely a big time people pleaser. Had no type of boundaries. I mean, because I call myself an open book. Like, my story, ask me questions, I have no problem telling you my story. But there's boundaries that you have to set. You can't just let people into your life and into your space so openly, because then you're leaving yourself open for destruction. You feel me? You're leaving yourself open for chaos, because that's really what's out here right now. So for those of us that are people pleasers, creating boundaries is not that easy, because we want to be there for the other person, but you have to understand that you need to be there for yourself first before you can be there for everybody else. Remember in the verse that I spoke about in the last video, God told us to love Him first with our mind, body, and soul, and then love our neighbor as we love ourselves. So if you're not loving yourself first, how are you supposed to love your neighbor? So, of course, loving yourself is not necessarily being a people pleaser, and setting those boundaries so that you can preserve and protect yourself because you love yourself. Um, Also, when you set boundaries and you have things that you're okay with and you're not okay with, then when you're entering into relationships, and this is like the main event of this whole conversation, when you're entering into relationships, now you can enter into these relationships healthier. Why? Because you now know what you're willing to deal with and what you're not willing to deal with. And whoever you're getting into a relationship with, if they're crossing your boundaries, or if they're doing things against or outside of what you're okay with, you don't have to put yourself in that situation. Just respectfully remove yourself. You feel me? So setting boundaries allows for these deeper connections to happen, because people know how to interact with you, because you let them know, this is who I am, this is what I'm okay with, this is what I'm not okay with. And if they're not willing to respect that, then what are we doing? We don't need to have a relationship. Clearly you're not the person I need to be in a relationship with. Now, if our society could just take that little point, I think we would do a whole lot better. Because right now I feel like the lack of boundaries, the lack of the connection with ourself and the connection with God, a lot of people now are just, getting married, having babies with people that they would never want to deal with. You feel me? But you wouldn't know that unless you know yourself, unless you had a relationship with yourself, unless you had a relationship with God, and unless you know what was okay, what you were willing to take, deal with, and what you were willing and what you were not willing to take or deal with. So I want us to like sit on that. Let's meditate about boundaries. How can I start setting some boundaries in my life so I can have more of my time? And creating boundary is not something necessarily to be selfish, but it is meant to protect and preserve. So you're not necessarily trying to be selfish. You're just setting up ways where you can be okay to now engage with other people if you feel like you have the time to, and you'll come from a more loving and healthier place because you're not feeling forced or obligated to engage or interact with these people. You've set the boundary and you're okay with what you're going to do or who you're going to be around. So, let's sit with that. Let's think about what boundaries can we set now so that we can start to do better, be better and healthier individuals, and then in turn will help us create healthier and better relationships with other people. Okay, so I love you, and I was told I need to let you know to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That's a lot of stuff, but do you? I'm here for you. I'm here for you all day long, and I just want you to remember to continue to live your life with love and light. Take care.